Welcome, everybody, to Bible Bites. I'm Pastor Dan. We are reading through the Bible one small bite at a time. We picked up in started Matthew 18 last video, and we're going to continue. I did not stop us in the greatest place last week. I stopped us at a paragraph marking that wasn't good, and you'll see why. I was reading it a different translation last week. So verse 6 is where we're picking up today. But whoever causes one of these little ones, and that's where you need to see the previous video, Jesus is speaking here of those who trust in him, those who are his children, meaning they trust in God's rescue through Jesus Christ. It's a simple but very robust faith. Those who truly belong to God are not looking to become the most important. Their goal is not a pursuit of significance for themselves or power for themselves or importance for themselves. Rather, their perspective is just to seek God, to seek their Father, to seek his righteousness, his purposes. That's who we're speaking of when Jesus talks about a child or one of these little ones. So whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea. A millstone was a huge stone, and literally what Jesus is saying is it would be better for them to be dead, to not exist, than to cause one of his own to sin. That is because those who cause one of God's own to sin, they're going to stand before God in judgment. God's judgment is severe. And it would be better for them to not have existed here on this earth than to have to face the wrath and judgment of God for having caused one of God's own to sin. Woe to the world for temptations to sin, for it is necessary that temptation come. But woe to the one by whom the temptation comes. So this is really Jesus just repeating the severeness and how serious this is to God, that someone would cause one of his own to sin. And Jesus is recognizing that this is going to happen and in this world, but watch out. Here, this is a warning, right? And let's keep going then, because Jesus shifts his thought here a little bit in verse 8, because he's saying that the world will be held responsible. Anybody who causes one of his own to sin and to stumble will be held responsible. But there is also responsibility for God's own to resist temptations. Okay, and this is what we're going to see here in verse 8. And if your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It's better for you to enter life crippled or lame than with 2 hands or 2 feet to be thrown into the eternal fire. Again, we are talking about God's judgment. This is not simply a judgment that has to do with our physical existence here and that time frame of life, but it actually has an eternal significance and impact well beyond physical existence. And if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than with 2 eyes to be thrown into the hell of fire. And again, here's the serious nature of dealing with sin. God expects us to do what is necessary to resist sin, to flee sin, to do away with sin in our lives. Does Jesus really want us to gouge out our physical eyes, cut off our physical arms and hands and so forth? I don't think so. But Jesus is saying it is good and right to take drastic measures here on earth because there is eternal impact. – So we deny ourselves we might have to suffer some. We might have to do away with things in our life to pursue his kingdom, to walk in righteousness. And God expects for us as his children to do that, to pursue the purposes, plans, righteousness of our Father in heaven and his kingdom. We're going to continue with verse 10 in our next video. And verse 10 will be just a progression still of Jesus' discussion here, of his teaching. And we will see you then. Until the next video, be blessed.